Good afternoon, everyone. An honor and a privilege. I was just the other day, by that I mean yesterday, 2 days ago, somebody had mentioned to me that they recognized me and they seen me online and different things, but the one thing he said, I saw you once in person. I said, when was that? They said at the Emunah seminar 10 years ago. I don't know, where were we here 10 years ago? Does it make sense? It says here, it was like in one of these seats over here. I said, how was it? Was it good? He said, I remember one thing. I said, what? He said, you totally embarrassed me. I said, okay, I'm sorry. You can come back again. I'm doing it hopefully tomorrow in Be'ez Hashem, but he's not here. So I guess I have to ask Mechila again. But this is a very, very powerful day. This is a type of day which is amazing because I imagine, although maybe you've learned a lot of the things in passing that you're going to see today, there are a lot of ideas which you should have learned over your lifetime. When you come to a new location, you hear put it all together, and one idea really does make a big difference. So let's just jump into it. There is this particular class I'm going to share with you is an introduction to the whole concept of what you're about to see. You're about to go through a lot of ideas of Emunah, a lot of ideas about what exactly is Emunah. And for the Friedman in the room, I apologize, I'm speaking Ashkenaz, but who are the Friedman? Where are you? How would you say Emunah? Emunah. Okay, so you have a lot of, there's like half of you in this room, that's crazy. So in any event, for you guys, Emunah, we're going to learn about Emunah and the concept of bitachon, and that's essentially these type of ideas, what exactly they are. So first, let's just jump in what it is. This idea, when we talk about it, maybe you've heard about it many times. Again, I don't know everybody's background, but if you grew up best like me, then perhaps if anyone's from Five Towns area, yeah. Who's not from Brooklyn or the Five Towns, raise your hand. Holy moly, all of you. Who's not from the East Coast? Not from the East Coast. That means you're from the West Coast. Okay, I'm sorry. It was like, I'm from Chicago, okay? Why is that not the West Coast? Okay, so who's from the West Coast? Let's put it that way. Who's from the East Coast? And who's from somewhere else? Where are you from? Okay, that counts. Okay, fine. I thought you were going to say Jersey or something. Okay, fine. So let's just jump in. I don't know what it's like where you grew up and wherever all y'all from, whatnot, but I can tell you where I grew up. I grew up in the Five Towns, which some of you are familiar with. It's very well known. I guess some of you are proud of that. For those unfamiliar with the Five Towns, I'm from Woodmere. We're going to go with the five: Woodmere, Cedars, Sodom, Amora, and Boacha. So, and I'm not saying which is which. The point is, though, grew up in the 5 T's, in a religious home. It's important to understand this to get where I'm coming from, where I'm going to share with you now. Although maybe I grew up in a religious home. I grew up in a religious home. When it came to Shabbos, I always kept Shabbos. When it came to kosher, I always kept kosher. When it came to girls, I always kept Shabbos. So although it's true that I was involved in all that kind of Jewish stuff, the question is whether I actually felt any sort of real connection with it. And I'm going to ask the crowd here, if you feel comfortable answering, how many grew up similar to me, that you had Shabbos, kosher, tefillin, all that kind of stuff, but without any real sense of a connection or relationship with a Yiddishkeit? I'll start. Anybody can relate to this? Yeah, it was amazing. When I asked before everyone from, we had these, and now it's just a couple of those, like this. Why? Okay. But it seems to me, again, a majority grew up similar to me. And I'll tell you something, it's not even that you didn't learn certain things. It could be you did learn them, but you weren't ready to take them in or really process them or understand what they're all about. First, let's just jump in very clearly. Emunah, bitachon, emunah, bitachon. When we talk about these ideas, what do they even mean? We throw them out often, and they're very interchangeable. Have you ever heard somebody say in the same sentence, guys, you have to really have emunah, and it's important that your bitachon is strong with your emunah? Well, which one? They're not the same thing. They're two separate things. So what is emunah? What is bitachon? This is a very long discussion of itself. I have a very holy chavrusa on Shabbos. I never heard of Rav Ami before, and that was a shout out for me, by the way, and using your name. And we're learning the idea about what is emunah. We're actually learning a sefer called Emunah and Bitachon. All right, so to get clarity about what is it really all about? So in a nutshell, although you require a lot more than just a nutshell to understand this. In a nutshell, we broke it down. Emunah is what in the realm of what we call theory, theoretically speaking. That is, I'm familiar with an idea, I get it, I could say it over, I can give it over even clearly. That's emunah. Bitachon is not just in theory, but what we would call practice. Practically speaking. Not just I, in theory, get this, right? Like we said, lo primero dice teóricamente, pero después nos trataremos prácticamente. It was that a person lives their life with this. Not just theoretically, I get it, but I'm actually living their life. The way the Chazon Ish explains this idea would be, if let's say a person opens up, anyone here in business or have been involved in some sort of business before? Yeah, business. I'm talking business. No, business? What would you do?
So chicken.
Chicken? Yeah. Chicken? Where are you from? Florida chickens. Okay. So you sell chickens. This is from your house? This is from the back of a truck? What was this? From school. One second. Chickens or chickened? Cooked chicken. Okay. So you were walking into yeshiva with like, I got 3 over here. You know, zeh kaparasi, shechtem. Not that. You're saying you came with actual sandwiches.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you the only one doing that?
Yeah. No, definitely not.
Are you unclear? Is this a machlokas? You know what? Are we still talking about the cooked chicken? Okay. You were not the only one. There are many people selling cooked chicken in your school. Were you the only one? Definitely not. So how many? One other. Okay. So there's one other guy, girl, chicken. Who?
There was a different business.
There was another chicken business. Say it again. There was a supermarket against you. Okay. I don't know what's going on here, but okay, let's play this out. Who started first? You or them? They started first, and you're the schwanz that came in to take over. Okay. So let's play this out. Let's try to flip it. Moshe, what's your name? That was close. Okay, Yehuda. Let's say you were the guy who started first, and they would have come in and started on your turf. How would you felt about that? But it's okay if you do it. Is that right? I just want to make clear. Okay. Would you say that's not cool, right? Would you be nervous that's going to take away some of your business? You wouldn't be. So why would it not be cool?
Because I'll just fight back.
One second. Let's start over. We'll do this slowly. You're the only guy selling the chicken. Another guy comes to town, tries to tell the chicken. I think I lost you with ADD. Okay. Anybody understand what's going on over here? How would you feel if someone came in on your turf selling what you're selling? Right? A little bit not so good. Says the Chazon Ish, understanding what's the difference in Emunah and Bitachon, Emunah Bitachon. What's the difference between them? Emunah is theoretically understanding the fact that God runs the world. Hashem is in charge of everything. What is Hashem in charge of? Everything. Absolutely everything. As the Holy Rabbi mentioned, that I just came straight, I don't know if you heard it at the end, but straight from the hospital. I got out yesterday. I was in the hospital on Shabbos, and 2 days ago, and yesterday. And I ended up there because, whatever, if Ami sent me, I wasn't sure if it's mutter, but okay, whatever, you know. And I ended up in the hospital because I was in a situation, which I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically I was in a situation that was messed up. And the situation that was messed up was I didn't have control over certain areas that I'd like to have control over in terms of actual complete function of focus and clarity. And it was an amazing, amazing concept to feel. I was thinking about today about Moshe Rabbeinu. When Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, well, who gave you the power? Who gives man the ability to speak? You know, Moshe is having an argument with Hashem. And he's saying to him, Hashem's like, go save the Jewish people. And Moshe's like, no, please, stop, no. He's like, no, I want you to do it. No, someone else, please. He's like, no, you're the one. No, I can't speak. No. He's like, who do you think gives the ability to speak? I don't know, please, someone. He's like, no. He's like, Vayicher of Hashem, do it. He's like, fine, I'll do it. And Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to them, and he's saying, who gave the ability to even speak? Who gives you the ability to do anything? And the craziest concept is just to process this information, which if you've never gone through yourself something of this nature, you wouldn't understand. But if anyone went through anything, where let's say you had a surgery on something, you broke an arm, you tore an ACL, or whatever it is that you went through, that you don't have full capabilities that you did a minute earlier, but now you don't anymore. You realize, well, I don't really control this. Hashem runs the world 100%. We're not talking about a little bit, we're talking about 100p. The Lord runs the world. Now, the Lord runs the world 100p. that if I open a business and someone else opened up a business right across the hallway by the locker number 7, if someone opens up, I'm locker number 6, and someone locker number 7 opens up a business, does that bother me? The answer is, although maybe it's usher because of Asagas Gvul, I'm not going to the ideas right now because I don't have so much time for it, but even though it's usher to do, how am I going to feel? Theoretically speaking, I'd be like, I'm cool, I'm fine, I'm good, everything's no problem. But practically speaking, how am I going to feel? Somebody who has Emunah, Emunah is step number 1. Emunah is in theory. In theory, I get it, and I understand it, and I have clarity on it, and I could say it over, and I could teach it. Bitachon is I'm going to live with it. That it's something which doesn't stare me. The way the Shar Bitachon writes it, the Chovas HaLevavos writes in Shar Bitachon, is that means I'm living a life of total, if I could sum up for you the entire Shar Bitachon, it's one word. Chill. That's it. Chill. Everything is chilling, illin like a villain in Brooklyn. It's all good. When a person's in a situation where they trust the Lord Almighty, you trust God? If you trust God, then you good. That's it. You got your God and good. Question is, do you trust? That's bitachon, trust. The word bitachon means trust. I trust in the fact that Hashem is taking care of everything. Emunah is theory, bitachon is practice. There is a vast bridge between the two of them. I believe that all of us, I'm trying to think about this. All of us had bitachon at some point, that incredible strong bond where we're totally fine and 100% good. Unfortunately, maybe we lost it, which we're going to come back to in just a moment. But let's go through the steps that are necessary in order to my original question here. How many of you grew up in a place similar to me where you had the idea, understood the basic concept of what Yiddishkeit is about, but we're talking about a relationship with Hashem. Bitachon means I'm tight with the Lord. I'm so close with God that I'm fine no matter what the circumstance. I know I can speak with Him, and if something doesn't go the way that I want, I know that ultimately this is what Hashem wants of me, and that it's the absolute best thing right now, whether I see it or I don't see it, but I get that concept and be able to be relaxed no matter the circumstance. Understand right now, you guys are 18, 19, what if you got held back, you're 35. But the rest of you are like 18 or 19 years old, right? You're 18, 19, I'm going to say 18 just because it's easier for me to say. So you're 18 years old now. Most of you, there's at least one of you, there's always one in the crowd that's the exception for everything. So let's make this clear, you're the exception. But all of you, except, all of you are living life now where life is cool. Most of you did not go through major issues in life. All of you went through stuff. Everybody goes through stuff. But most of you lived your life in a way where things are okay. Yeah, you had experiences here, experiences there, but things are more or less fine. However, as you go through life, the whole purpose, Adam La'amal Yulad, we're here in order to grow. We're going to go through challenges. We're going to go through struggles. What you're going to learn right now, as we're going to build in for the rest of the day, is how to be able to navigate those challenges and those struggles. If you don't have this information, then you're going to be lacking sorely to be able to deal with life. Lacking sorely to be able to overcome these challenges that are going on. So listen carefully to this. How does a person develop a relationship with Hashem? Where it's not just step 1 of Emunah, where I get it and I can say it over, assuming you even have that, but it's bitachon, where I'm feeling it and I'm actually living it and I'm connecting with it. So there are 3 steps. There are 3 steps that are necessary, and some of you, I've taught in a lot of places over the years. It could be that some of you have even heard this, but the truth is, if you heard it, it's better for you because you have a little bit of a base and now you'll actually get it. And if you haven't heard it, so come back another time, we'll discuss it again. But the first understanding is number 1. There are 3 steps that are necessary for a person to have a relationship with anything, but in particular, we're talking here about Yiddishkeit and with Hashem Himself. What are the 3 steps? Steps are go like this. Just to quickly remember it, and this you'll remember if you heard it before, it's called call. Anybody familiar? Fresh meat. She's the only guy. Caw. Spell it. C-A-W. Try again. Caw. Okay, good. Ah. A. Ah. K-A-A, good, okay. So ka is what? Now, you hear ka, you usually think of a bird, now you'll think of me, whatever. Ka. What is ka? 3 steps that are necessary for a person to develop a relationship with anything. Let's start up with the Lord Almighty. Número 1, lo primero. If a person wants to be connected with something, number 1 is, como se dice en español, conocimiento. Número 1 es conocimiento. ¿Qué es conocimiento? Conocimiento es knowledge. That's K. For those who didn't do well in school, it's nah. But the rest of you, it's ka. The first one is a K. K would be knowledge. Knowledge is you got to know. In order to be able to be connected to something, you have to have information that that thing actually exists, and you got to know that it exists. There are many things that we're aware of in theory, and our relationship will be as connected in theory as it can be. But to really connect to something, you got to know. As much as you know is as much as connection you're going to be able to build. So what's the idea, number one, of knowledge? How many people here, and it can be all of you, but I'm not actually going to call you out. Maybe I will, but I'm not sure. Bli neder. How many people here feel comfortable getting up in front of a crowd you don't know? Not like, if it's all your friends, you don't mind looking silly, but a group of people you don't know standing up on the stage and giving over a presentation showing clearly how you know that there is a God. 3 of you? Just want to take a moment to notice. I mean, not everyone on the camera here can see. There are about 12,000 people here. Now, of the thousands and thousands of people here, only 3 people I saw raise their hand. I'm going to ask again, how many people here feel comfortable? Listen, I'm not talking about your self-esteem issues. I'm not saying do you actually feel comfortable getting up. I mean, you have the ability to give over clearly how you know there's a God. Got a couple more hands? And usually again like this. Got one of those, good for you. All right, does anybody here find it, am I the only one, or does anyone here else find it a little bit sad that in the room, if I did a quick, let's see, 300 people in the room, made that up, I don't know if I'm close, but of the some 300 people in the room, am I close? Half? 200? Half of 300 is 200, apparently. Of the 200 of you in the room, does anyone here find it sad that majority of you, I'm judging, grew up similar to me enough? Some came from public school, some came, from Lakewood and whatever. But those that, not like that, you come like me, does anyone find it sad that you're growing up in a religious environment, in a religious world, and you don't know the answer to that question? Am I the only one that finds it sad, or is anyone else? Do you see that's a little bit weird? Right, so let's try to figure out then, maybe it's worthwhile to figure that out. How do we know? Now, that's exactly what you're going to be doing today, figuring it out. The speeches following mine to the very end of the day is going to work on it's going to go on the knowledge. We do have to find a little bit, what is knowledge though? What does it mean to know something? Because it's a classic line that the Modocs people like to use. And they like to say the following idea. They like to say, you can't really know that there's a God. You can't really know the Torah came from Hashem. It's kind of like a leap of faith. It's a hubble of knowledge. It's a triple belief. Right? You can't really know. Has anyone here ever heard somebody say that before? Yes. You've heard that? Is anyone here comfortable saying you are that person that has said that before? Right? You can't really know. And it's up to you to decide whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it. Good? So far, so good? Okay. Now, I want to be very clear. Let's understand what we mean when we say things. Very often, we throw out words, but we don't necessarily mean what we say. So what do we mean when we say knowledge? How do we define, what does it mean to know something? On a hot day, someone gives you a cold cup of water. You go, thank you so much. I love you. And they go, I didn't know you felt that way about me, bro. Right? All I meant was thank you for the water. That's it. All right, now back off. I'm going to buy my chickens elsewhere. Right? But understand that when we talk about over here this concept of what does that mean to actually, when we say love, what does it mean when it says, how are you? How are you today is just like good morning. You walk by someone, you go, how are you? And they say, how are you? And they just keep going. There was no conversation. What do we mean when we say knowledge? You say you can't really know that there's a God. It's a leap of faith. It's a hubble of knowledge. It's a triple belief, whatever it may be. So let me share with you a little bit of understanding over here. The reason why someone would say you can't know is because they're defining knowledge a certain way. I happen to agree with them that you can't know, assuming that they define knowledge a certain way. The only problem is that they don't define it that way. So not only do I disagree with them, they disagree with themselves. What you talking about? Willis. I'll explain. What that means is as follows. When somebody says you can't know, well, the average teenager that's coming and saying, you can't really know, it's rarely like, you cannot really know. It's usually like, can't really know. Right? He says, oh, you really can't know? Well, how do you find out? Well, knowledge is 100%. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You can't really know. 100p, can't know 100p. That's okay, let's play this out for a second. Is anybody here, this is a personal question, Is anybody here that is not adopted? Your parents or your biological parents? By the way, rabbis, mentors, teachers, I'm not sure who everyone is, you're included in this. You feel free to join in on the fun. Like I'm going to come back at you though, so it's up to you if you want to be part of it, but I'm just, okay, so is anyone here not adopted? Your parents or your biological parents? Yeah? What's your name? Jack? Your parents are your biological parents. Okay, how do you know? He saw pictures. Now, I'm a little nervous. What do you mean by that? Do you have them on you, Jack? Maybe you can. What pictures exactly do you have? Your mother being pregnant with you? Well, you could, that was like, how, is your face like through the, how, I'm sorry? Dates on pictures? Keep going. What other pictures? Just to see a picture of a pregnant lady. Okay, good. So far, so good. What? After you're born. So you have a picture of a pregnant lady and of a lady holding a baby. For sure they're your parents. I mean, what else do you need? What's that? Okay, I look like Bradley Cooper with less hair. It doesn't mean that we're related. You understand? So we got to figure out, how do you know your parents? Your parents, anyone? Yeah. Say your name. Joseph? Where are you from? Awesome. Yeah. Texas. Oh, it's another place in the world. Okay. You said DNA? You did a DNA test? Okay. Anyone have a real answer? Yeah. DNA? You did a DNA test? Was this like a gift your parents got you? Like, we're not sure, honey. Happy birthday. Say it. So he missed what I said. Okay, fine. Okay, it's a 24andMe. Excellent. Now, what's your name? Mayor? Assuming that's your name. Okay. Mayor, question. You're studying sciences, and you've studied the sciences. You're into like, birth certificate. Well, I'm asking you, have you taken blood tests for people? Do you want me to ask the guy next to you? I mean, I should ask him if you... Oh, I think he's making it clear. You don't even have to translate. He's answered the questions already. Let me, for everyone else who understands what I'm saying here, do you understand that when you do a DNA test, unless you did it yourself, you're trusting some random person that you have no idea who they are. How do you know? You just trusted some random person. Did everybody get what just happened? Somebody else yelled out birth certificate. It's a good thing that the government's never lied. And next. Okay, so yeah.
I'm a triplet.
You are a triplet.
Yeah.
You are a triplet, and I like cheese. What else would you like to share with us?
My dad said he wouldn't wish upon his worst of enemies nor best of friends.
So now we know that your dad's your dad. How do we know your mom's your mom? Okay, so now, listen carefully. Let's put this all together. The answer to the question is, and listen with care to the calling, this is what it means, carefully, like full of. Listen with care, full of care, to understand the answer to this question. When somebody says that they know something, what do they mean? Do they mean 100%? The answer is rarely do they mean 100%. What they mean is I have enough evidence that puts something into the realm where it is now reasonable to say that it's true. Everybody get what I just said? Knowledge is not 100p. Knowledge is, it could also, inclusive of, but besides that is when you have enough evidence that puts something into a realm where it's now reasonable to say that it's true. That's how we move into knowledge. If you want to play the game 100p, then you'd have to start dropping off a whole lot of things that you say you know. Is anyone here before you came for yeshiva? It was your first time coming to this country. It's your first time in Singapore. It's your first time in Singapore? How do you like Singapore? Yeah, interesting. So what do you mean? We're in Israel. How do you know we're in Israel? How do you know we're in Israel? Well, they told me. How do you know you're in Israel? The way that you know is because you bought a ticket saying that's a case that said halal, and when you got here there was hummus, and there's a big wall, and there's people speaking Hebrew, and there's Jews, Arabs, Muslims fighting. It's got to be Israel. When you have a whole bunch of stuff, this is what we call beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt, I have enough evidence, puts him into a realm, it's reasonable to say it's actually true. Numero uno, conocimiento, the first idea to be able to have this relationship and connection with something is, you gotta know, that's the first one. You gotta know. Now, once you know, is that enough? The answer is probably not. We're going to get to more steps. But the first step is you have to actually know that it's true. So whenever we go and discuss this idea of, I just don't understand, why don't I have a relationship and connection with God? And he says, do you even know there is a God? A chain is only as strong as the weakest link, and you are the weakest link. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean, that phrase, a chain is only as strong as the weakest link? These are phrases we hear all the time. You know, when you hear a phrase growing up, you don't know what it means. You're like, what does that mean? But then everyone's like, oh. You're like, okay, I know. And you just continue playing as if you know what you're talking about. It's like, these guys come to Isha Torah, Bali Tshuva, they don't know what they're saying. I'm like, how you doing? Like, how's everything? Like, oh, you know, thank God, Zatzal, everything is going great, Zatzal, Hashem. What? So we hear these phrases. What does that mean? A chain is only as strong as the weakest link. What that means is that if you have a chain that's made out of links, you have links between each chain, and they're made of the strongest, let's say each one's made out of titanium, but there's one link that's made out of paper. One of the links is made out of paper. How strong is that chain? As strong as the paper. Whatever it can hold, that's what it is. Our relationship with Hashem is as strong as we are. Hashem, he's cool. Hashem is the powerful, the mighty, is the strongest part of it. We're the one who closed the loop here in terms of our relationship with him. So the question is, how strong is that? And the step number one is, well, do we even know that Hashem exists? So obviously you're going to have a hard time dealing with life circumstances and challenges if we don't even know there is a Hashem, because all the concept becomes theoretical, and then that theoretical doesn't even allow it to be taught over because it's so theoretical that I haven't even discussed it with somebody else. So we got to get to step number one, knowledge. That is, I'm skipping over because that's the rest of today, to work at the steps of how we actually know. How we actually know. And I think that the class right after mine, actually, dare I get myself in trouble, is probably the only class you need to hear. But anyway, the point is that the next one is going to give you the powerful idea of how we know there's Hashem, how we know the Torah came from Hashem. Not just we think, not just we trip, we just believe, we just want, but we actually know. Understand. We say every single day, I judged you, I apologize, I judged you. We're meant to say every single day a tefillah called Aleinu. And in Aleinu we say the words, V'yodato hayom v'ashivos elvavecha. That what does that mean? V'yodata means to know, knowledge. V'yodata hayom, you know today, v'ashivos elvavecha. Step number one is you got to know, and then we can go down, 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 and we can hit the heart. Yeah. But it's got to start with the idea of knowledge. But the first step is knowledge, then we can get into our heart. Straight to the... But it's got to start with the idea that we know something. So do we know that there's Hashem? And if the answer is no, make sure you remain for the rest of the day, because that's the steps that are going to take you there. Step number one, knowledge. Step number two, understand, and this is one of the most important things to get, which I think that this class, I think, is so important to fully comprehend. The information that you are about to learn is nice and important. But having information itself, although it's important and it gives you the capacity and ability to at some point in the future use it, if you don't actually use it, then what is it good for? It becomes irrelevant. So even though we know things, what are you going to do with it? What steps are you going to take to move? Step number one, I know. Now, if somebody knows something, does that mean now that they're going to have a relationship and connection with it? Yes or no? The answer is it'll give them the ability if they want. But if they don't want, then they're not going to have it. So how does a person get to the next level? And this is where it was famously said by all the Bali Musar, so Salat to famously say, what's the greatest distance that exists in this world? Head to the heart. Good, head to the heart. That what you know, and that what you know. That what you know, and that what you feel. That what you know, that what you got. That what you heard, and that what you in. And saying something, not just I'm involved, but I is that. I is bitachon. You understand? How does a person become is bitachon? That's the question. So you know something. You know that there's a God. You're familiar with the idea. How do I take that information and bring it to my heart? There are many things that we know. There are many people in this room that know a lot of things. That doesn't mean it stops you from doing things you shouldn't do and from not doing things you know you should do. There are people you hang out with, you know it's bad for you. There are things that you are ingesting, you know that are bad for you. There are things you're not doing, you know you should be doing. You know you should exercise, you know you should sleep better, you know you should stay away from that and not eat all of this, etc., etc., etc. Not to be confused with etc., which is not a word, etc. You understand these ideas, but just because you know it doesn't mean you're living with it in any way, shape, or form. I had an aunt, Aunt Cheryl, she died. Where's my sound effect? Is the sound effect? Okay. Let's try it again. I like that one. I had an Aunt Cheryl, she died. Anyway, so he did really well. She died like 13, 14, 15, 16 days ago. Oh, years ago. Oh, and all of a sudden it means something? That was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, days ago? That's terrible. Oh, 16 years ago? Oh, she's dead a long time. It's okay. You guys are terrible. Anyway, the point is that she died about 16 years ago. And Cheryl, I hate to say it like this, but it's not really the biggest surprise. She died of lung cancer. She smoked 2 packs of Marlboro Reds every day for 30 years. Now, the ironic part, or the sad part, is that she actually quit smoking. She quit smoking 5 years prior to her death. 5 or 6, whatever it is, 5 years before she died. So the crazy thing is that, how did she quit? She quit cold turkey, as they call it. I have a cousin who was sucking his thumb. He was a thumb sucker. And he was too old to be sucking his thumb. So my Aunt Cheryl said, Polony, every family has one. Polony, you got to stop sucking your thumb. So Polony says, Aunt Cheryl, you got to stop smoking. A whole group of people popped out of nowhere. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, right? And she goes, I'll make you a deal. I'll make you a deal. She says, I'll make you a deal. If you stop sucking your thumb, I'll stop smoking. And he said, deal. And she started sucking her thumb. He started smoking. And I'm kidding. They both kept smoking. But point is, no, I'm just kidding. They both like, I don't even know anymore what I'm saying. Point is that she ended up quitting smoking. He ended up stopping to suck his thumb. 5 years later, 5 years later, a lot of colors. 5 years later, if we can get the video guy to change that, 5 years later. Anyway, so 5 years later, I was actually visiting my aunt. I'm like, wow, you look great. Everything looks wonderful. And unfortunately, she ended up dying of lung cancer. And here's the crazy thing, because all you crazy kids out there, people say, you guys should stop smoking. You're like, smoking? I don't smoke, bro. I vape. You know what I'm saying? I wax vape. The first time I heard someone wax, I'm like, bro, you're a dude. You wax? Like, what does that even mean? And the point is like, yeah, whatever. I'm a swimmer. And the point is that the guy goes, I'm vaping, I'm this, whatever. And then you go to the kid like, yo, you got to stop smoking. Stop ingesting things that are bad for you. I don't even care. Like classic 18. I don't even care. As I don't even care. I don't even care. And they say, what? Like what? So I'll die? Fine, I'll die. That's like the classic stupid response. I'll die. Let me explain to you about Cheryl, who died 16 years ago. Cheryl went through, I don't remember exactly how many, it was maybe 6 months of excruciating pain. I want to explain to you, we have in our body something called the central nervous system. Central nervous system is what's in charge of your nerves and pain. The tumors were up and down her spine directly on the central nervous system that no amount of morphine was able to stop the amount of pain she was going through. So you try to imagine somebody twisting your arm where you're like, okay, I give up. That feeling of pain, now holding that pain for 6 months. You're like, oh, I'll die. Understand, at that point, you're going to want to die quickly. It's a bracha to die in such a circumstance. Everyone lives their life like making certain decisions at 18, thinking like, oh, understand, there's ramifications to your decisions. Understand that idea. So my mother was never a fan of smoking. Once that happened, whoo, it took her over the edge. And she became one of those women. Some of you met those women, right? My mother will walk over to random people in the street and say, excuse me. Excuse me. Some guy's like smoking. He's like, excuse me. And I'm like, here we go. Here we go. He's like, excuse me. He's like, yeah. Don't you know that smoking kills? I'm like, Ma, give it up. Like, what are you waiting? I'm waiting for the day when someone's like, are you serious? My doctor said it's good. Oh my, lettuce quickly. Like it's not gonna happen. What, the guy doesn't know? Everybody knows that smoking is bad for them. We all know it. Just because you know something don't mean you're living your life like it. So how do we get it from here down to the heart? That's number 2. Number 2 is not just to have the knowledge, what we call Emunah. What we call Emunah, teóricamente, theoretically speaking, pero prácticamente. That's a good thing with the mic. That's why I like practicamente. You want it to be practically speaking. How does a person get it to be practical? That I'm living with this. And by the way, By the way, understand, don't think it's a difference. You're 18, you're 40, you're 60, you're 70. Unless you do something about it, you're going to be a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old and a 50-year-old and a 70-year-old in the same situation you are now. Prácticamente. So number one is knowledge. How do we get it down to the corazón? How do we get it to the heart? I think I have it. How do you get it down to the corazón? How do we bring it to our heart? Number two, lo segundo es, say it. Action. Number two is A. So ka, right? Number two is is the idea of K is a knowledge. Number two, segundo, two is, dos, is action. Segundo, second, dos, two. So how do we get to action? I'm sure all of you, I'm not sure. I imagine, I think, perhaps. Has anyone here ever heard of Rav Dessler? Have you heard of Rav Dessler's idea about ahava, about love? Yes, it's a well-known idea in the yeshiva and seminary world for sure. And that is the idea of how does a person, what causes a person to come to love something? It's very important to get Rav Dessler's not defining. For the Rabbanim, who I would love if you want to argue with me and help me understand this better, but I'm going to say that he's not defining what love is. He's defining how a person gets love, not defining what is love. Baby, don't hurt me. Right? But he's saying, but he's trying to figure out about the concept of what is it. So says Rav Dessler, you got it? Hit it.
To give.
To give what? What?
The more you give to someone, the more you're going to gain to appreciate.
Very good. Excellent. Excelente. Bruce? Yeah. Huh. Where are you from? Teaneck? Lonora. Okay. So Teaneck comes on and he tells us that is what's the idea of love. How does a person come to love something? That's from the word itself. The word love in Hebrew is ahava, the root, the shorish of the word, the root of the word ahava is the word hav. What do you mean? Normally it's 3 letters for a shorish. I understand. Okay, fine. But the dikduk, it doesn't work like that. Not dikduk. Fine, I got it. The point is that the shorish would be coming called hav. Hav means to give. Havu Lashem b'nei elim. It means to give. In modern vernacular Hebrew would be havli. Havli means give to me, which people translate as take. But the word hav means to give. Hav also means to bark. It depends how long you're married. Fine. But the point is that hav means to give. Hav, when you start to give towards something, you start to love that thing. The more you invest, the more you give, the more you involve, the more you start to become connected. This is why you got to check yourself or you wreck yourself big time. What? Because the more a person involves and invests themselves in anything in life, it doesn't matter what. If you put time and effort into something, you're going to start becoming connected to that thing. So you got to be careful. You got to be very careful. This is why we find, like, one of the biggest mistakes that you find that people make when they come to yeshiva or seminary, barring exceptions of instability, which is a very important sentence I just said. But assuming a person is generally stable, things are good, everything's all right, one of the biggest mistakes they could make is they put a hot pepper directly in their eye. But another mistake that's not related to this, another mistake would be to, during your year in yeshiva, to be dating somebody. Dating, oh no, yeah, what? Dating someone when you're in yeshiva is one of the biggest mistakes that you could make. It's a side point. One of the main reasons for that is because it's very hard for you to grow as an individual while you're constantly thinking about the other person. And it's so beautiful. It's like so nice to like think of someone else. So nice. The problem is that in the meantime, you're not thinking of you. You're not growing as an individual. And it'll be so nice. You'll get married. And then at some point, you'll realize who you are. You'll realize you don't want this person, but then you're stuck. It's very important to understand to really get there. So what should I do? What should I do? And he says, well, break up with them. How could I do that? I love them. Why do you love them? Because you invested, you put so much time and energy into it, and now you messed yourself up. Say, what? Messed up. Now, side point, just a little throwing over there, because I was asked to by one of the rabbis. Okay, now, I wasn't really. Only 2 of them asked me. Fine. So, no, I'm just kidding. All of them, okay. I was not. This message brought to you by me. Nobody asked me to say that. That is just a little side point. Bleeding that there. Okay, so now, understand the following concept. Is that action, when a person when you give towards someone, when you act upon something, it starts to become part of you, which is why you got to be careful. Anything you invest time and energy into, you start to become connected connected to. So numero uno is conocimiento. We got to know what is that knowledge. Numero two, acción, start to act on it. When you start acting upon the things that you know, you start to build that bridge. And now we're talking about low. And we start to this game, so what flows into the heart, it starts to move. When a person works on the idea, I know what it is, I have Emunah, right? I got the idea of knowledge, then I can bring it down to my heart by acting upon it. And you know yourself, anytime you've acted upon something, you've become closerly connected to it. Although maybe you have the Yitzhar to fight against it, to stop doing it, the point is you are closer than you were the moment before. Are you acting upon your knowledge? Now we get to the main Nakuda. Because if you're similar to me, I did have the knowledge, although that's totally not true. If you'd ask me up until 16 years old, how do you know? I'm running to shul, I'm going to shul. Someone's like, stop! I gotta get to shul. The guy's like, what shul? Synagogue. For what? To pray. To who? God. How do you know there's a God? I have to go. Right? Run. I don't know. I didn't know. I wouldn't be able to articulate. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I just know. You know what I'm saying? How do you know? I just know. Right? That's like anybody can just say, I just know. What you mean by I just know is I just have a feeling based off somebody telling me something, so now I'm experiencing a certain feeling, and therefore I'm going to move forward with that feeling until I don't have that feeling anymore, and all of a sudden I'm done. You understand the scary thing is that after this year, many of you, let's take that back. Let's rewind. After this year, there are people in Israel studying for the year that this will be the end of their Jewish experience. And I'm not talking about Bali Tshuva or not yet Bali Tshuva. I'm talking about people that grew up in from homes. This is going to be the end. Eso es todo. Terminamos. Finalizamos. We got people, perhaps by statistics, I'll say in this room, but it doesn't have to be in this room, but statistically in this room, that if you're going to go after this, they're going off to college, they're going off to who knows what, where, and what, and the other. And what happens to them? You know, like statistics, 70 to 80% of kids that grew up in from homes that end up in a secular college within 2 years are totally unaffiliated. I don't think I even need to shock anyone. Does anyone here know, does anybody, by show of hands, does anyone here know even one person that grew up in a religious home that today is no longer religious after they went away, after they were in yeshiva? Anyone know something like that? Right, so we have over here, just in the room itself, by hands raised, we have about 40%. So understand, just take a look and see what's going on. That's just people that raise their hand, and perhaps people know two of them, or maybe you're not really thinking about it. Why are you going to be any different? What's one of the many reasons it can happen? There are a lot of reasons. You don't even know. How dare you? Oh my God, fine, I get it. Point is that many of them are coming from a very basic concept of not even knowing this is true, and it's all an emotional connection. And as soon as you lose that emotional connection, you're totally lost because there was no sort of intellectual connection. Do we actually know it to be true? Is it something that we just kind of accepted and we kind of move forward? So this is why we say it's so important. Knowledge, number one, you're going to see right after this class, moving to the end of the day. Number two is action. After this day, you have to continue acting upon the things that you're doing. But you'll say to me, hold on one second, that's what I'm doing already. And that's where I was. I really didn't know. But let's say I did a little bit. How did I know? What do you mean? Is there Hashem? Of course. Where is he? Hashem is there. Hashem is there. Hashem is there. So as I get older, I don't sing. I just say, what do you mean? Hashem is here. Hashem is there. Hashem is there. That's the original in Kol Mashiach, right? But the point is, where I go and I see that, yes, of course I know, but do I really know? No, I don't really know. But I'm doing it. Number two, action. Okay, every day I put on tefillin, I went to daven, I said brachos, I kept Shabbos, I kept kosher. I was doing it all, so I knew and I was action. So why do I still not have a connection with a relationship with the Lord Almighty? I believe that's number three, tercera, third, tercera. What's the third thing? Tres, the third thing is, If you heard it before, if you heard it, don't be that guy, don't say. If you haven't heard it, if you've never heard ka, then tell me what's number three, what's Application would be number two, is action. What's that? What? Afterwards? Oh, effort. I got it. Effort. Good. Effort's a good one. Good, but it's not the one I was thinking of. Very good. Acceptance. That's a good one. I like it. Applying would be action. Honest is excellent. You guys are good. A-W. Truth is with, there you go. Bam! Knock it down. What? Okay, that's something. Know that? Wait a minute. I have to ask a question. Someone, is anyone here went to, Okay, whatever. I'll ask afterwards. Okay. Peer pressure? Okay. Now you're going to make him feel bad. I'll ask afterwards. Okay. Belina there. Just remind me about the thing with the game. The game. The two game. Got it? Okay. It'd be crazy if it's you. Okay, so the answer number 3 is something called awareness. What's awareness? Awareness is how many of us are living a life where we're just moving and going without even stopping to think and process what we're doing. Example, how long does it take to say the bracha shahako? Okay, I'm going to do it for you. Ready? Baruch. Ready? Time me. Someone time me. Just look at your thing. That'd be perfect. Ready? Action. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, followed by shehakol niyeh bidvaro. How much?
6.
Okay, let's take an average of 7. How many people generally do it that fast? I mean, that slow. Depends on the day. Would you say that's your average speed? Or is it a little faster usually? The answer is it depends. How far is the cup from your mouth? 5, 4, 3, 2, shkonvro. Right? And the person goes, as they walk in the room, you're like, shkonvro. They're like, I don't know you speak Japanese. Konnichiwa to you. Yeah? And then you go to shul, and it's time to daven. And then the chazan goes, Baruch atah Hashem. You go, B'chshma, B'chshma. Right, it's a little thing. And if you're Sephardi, you actually know the words. If you're Ashkenaz, you're like, I'm not really sure what the original words once were. Right? But what is it? Very good. Well, you're getting close, right? Baruch hu uvaruch shemo. But baruch hu uvaruch shemo becomes b'chshma. Right? So the person goes through the whole day going like shkon v'b'chshma. Right? And then again, what happens? They go after somebody says, "How you doing?" B'chshem, b'chshem, b'chshem. Right? How's everything? B'chshem. Right? So your whole day basically is what? Your entire day is shkon v'b'chshma, b'chshem, shema. Please, I don't understand why I'm not connected with Hashem. I just don't understand why am I not connected with Hashem. The answer is, did you stop for a moment to pay attention to what you're doing? How many people have done the following? Shmona Esrei. You finish Shmona Esrei, you do your 3 things back, like, okay, whatever, or you do like, I don't know if you're Sephardi, you do like, whatever it is, And then you're like, and then you finish, and then for some reason you start doing this. All of you do it because of Morat Sipora or something. And the point is like this, yeah. And then you go like this. You're like, oh, I forgot Yalaviyovo. Right, so you go back, you do Shmona again, you do your whole thing. You're like, oh, if you're a guy, you're like this. If you're a girl, you're like. And then when you finish, you finish again. And the second thing, you're like, I forgot it again. So you do a third Shmona Esrei. And when you finally finish the third one, you go, wait a minute. It's not even Rosh Chodesh. That was yesterday. How many people are living a life where we don't even know? Have anybody ever found themselves at the end of the day, someone's like, how was your day? You're like, great. You're like, what'd you do? You're like, I'm not sure. Look what I'm not sure. Shabbos, how was your week? You had a great hike on Sunday. And the guy's like, bro, that was 6 months ago. You're like, I was thinking about it. How was your year? How was your decade? How was your life? We're living a life where we're not paying attention to what we're doing. We're not focusing on what we're doing. And somebody who lives a life without paying attention clearly is not going to be connected. We have 3 things that are going on here. Number 1 is knowledge. You got to know this Hashem. You have to understand the idea that He wrote the Torah and He gave it to us. Number 2 is the idea of acting upon those ideas. And for most of us, we have that. But for the third one is the most difficult one. That's the idea of the actual awareness where we're living our life paying attention to what we're doing. In one word, that's called kavanah. Kavanah. That's called kavanah. It's called kavanah. That's why I'm paying attention. I'm focused to what I'm doing. Anytime you ever did feel connected with Hashem, anytime you felt it, it was when you knew what you were doing, you're acting upon it, and you're paying attention to while you're doing it. Anytime you didn't, you're lacking one of those 3 things. Understand the following. You're going to see a tremendous amount of information today. Realize that the information itself is not what's going to change you. The information is just step 1 called knowledge. After that, you have to start applying it. We have to start applying it in a way we're paying attention. In Hebrew, we would call the 3 steps as follows. Number 1 is da'as. You have to know. Dalid. Number 2 is asiya. Oseh, to do, action. Number 3 is hakara. You got to be paying attention and recognizing what you're doing. Dalid, ayin, hey, called de'ah. Umala is de'ah. The world will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem. Only once a person is willing to take these steps are going to get somewhere. So let's, with the rabbi's permission, quickly recap. Okay, quick recap of everything we did. End off with 1 point, and then we're done. Here we go. So we started off in the beginning. How many of us in a situation, somebody go up like me, Shabbos, yeah, kosher, yeah, girls, Shabbos, world, yeah. we're going to live in a thing. I'm doing what I'm doing in the first place. I don't have any connection relation with it, even though I grew up in the 5 towns. Sodom, what? Even though I'm involved, I don't really have any connection. What's going on? 3 steps. Number 1. Numero uno primero is I have to have knowledge. That's right. The first is the idea of I have to know what's going on over here. So if I don't know that, I'm not going to have anything. Your chain is only strong and weak link. You are the weakest link, right? Really, the idea what it means. How is it called? Of knowledge over there. That's what you're going to do right now. It's going to jump to the main point of how you know this is true. Number 2. After I get the knowledge, I have to work on action. When a person is acting upon what they know, they start bringing it from here. They're going to be going down. Number 1, you know over here, después it goes down into the heart. But you got to start with the conocimiento, después con corazón. Okay. Then we have the third one. I'm living my life. I have a good religious home. I got the concept. I know there's Hashem. Hashem is here. Hashem is there. Hashem is really over there. Up, down, right, left, all around here, there. Found chicken. Right? Really, all these things. Fine. I got it. But still not connected. Why? What's going on with it? And the answer is that when I've been paying attention, I don't get it. The answer is stop for a moment and pay attention to what you're doing. If a person would take these steps, they'll start to change everything. I want to leave you with one last idea as a homework assignment to take this actually, because you guys have heard tens, hundreds, thousands of classes in your lives, but how many have actually done something with it that really changed you? So this is the homework. But our homework is like this. Has anyone here ever heard of something called modani? You say in the morning, modani. How many people say it? Anybody say it and feel comfortable with me calling you out right now? Yeah? Okay, go. English, Hebrew, modani. Excellent. English.
I think you can.
Good, stop right there. So if you see right now, I think you're, Shem, my throat, I don't know, it was random. It's the reason why I was able to do it, even though, Shalom, the reason why I was able to do it is simply because it's a weird thing. I'm not used to doing it. You might know the basic gist of what modani is, but if you're not paying attention to what you're saying, what is it good for? How many of you said modani and then a minute later you're like, okay, did I say modani? Wait a minute, all of you have a week yesterday. Right? We're not even paying attention to what we're doing. So here's what I'm challenging you. What I'm challenging you is if you don't say modani, start off now by saying modani. Why? It's the first thing you wake up in the morning. You don't have to get out of bed. You just say the words modani. But then I challenge you to start, if you say it already in Hebrew, I challenge you to start saying it in English. If you now say it in English, I challenge you to say it in Hebrew. If you say it in both, you're lying. So why am I suggesting do that? Because it's a very simple thing. And if you start taking it on, you start off your day with a focus. It changes the way the rest of your day goes. My challenge, moda'ani, start putting into it. All this information, very important, but make sure that we're putting into our lives where it's not just theory, but actually practice. Thank you so much and have a great, great day.